Now it's slipping again.
Is it? Who knows? Could be horrible.
And there's a massive latency between me saying something and then me saying it, on the stream.
Oh, I never do that.
That's
I
like
don't
4 seconds.
I never watch the stream because there's always latency.
Not the stream on YouTube. Sorry, just this is actually the Ecamm thing.
Oh, really?
So like, yeah,
That's weird.
like 5 seconds, something like that. So that it's going to be like the long distance television shows of
But
old.
when you're speaking to
Yeah.
me right now, I'm seeing your mouth move and everything in real time.
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of real time for you. It's just by the time it's got to you, there's been 4 seconds of elapsed between when I say it and when you're hearing it.
Ridiculous. Well, let's say hello to people. I don't even know what to say. This is like old school. There's like a creaking noise when you're moving around. I don't think that's me. It sounds like what is that?
No, that probably that would be a chair.
Oh, that's a chair. Okay. All right. So here we are. It's November 3rd, unbelievably. And just so that everybody knows what's going on here, besides a lot of things, I'm actually just trying to do a new setup. And I thought it would have been done a long time ago. And clearly it's not. And it's not just moving the camera. It's an entirely, I'd say, kind of a duplicate setup from what I have over there, but with an entirely different teleprompter, and I have to move the cameras over. So I'm just it's a mess. Yeah.
Okay, your audio is cutting out all over the place again. Then for me, so I don't know if that's going out or if that's something
Well,
my
let's find
end.
out.
Maybe anyone in the
Let's
chat you could tell
yeah,
his
let's
evening. And
find
by
out
the
if
way, good evening.
I could use a drink right now. AF. Yeah, no, forget the AF. I know about the AF. If I could walk over there and focus myself, I
No,
just yeah. What? Different AF?
I think he's meaning that he thought the clicking sound, because I have a Sigma lens on, and the
Oh,
AF, if you're actually working the thing, goes. Oh, it says your
Andre
audio is
says
coming out great, so it's something between you and me.
so maybe it's a download thing. It's kind of muffled. Well, I am using a wireless Go with a headset mic, and not really intentionally. It's just the fastest thing for me to set up. I don't know if the noise is AF, Jago. It may or may not be. I don't think it's my AF though, because you wouldn't even pick up my lens from where my camera is. But quality is pretty poor. Is that a trucker headset? Yeah, that's a trucker headset. I don't know if everything's routing correctly right now. It is audio going direct through camera, and I'm just going to check my system prefs, but you should be getting audio. It shouldn't actually be too muffled, but you never know. It's a messy world out there. Have a drink, Ben. Grab something to drink while I check that. What are you
All
going to have
right.
today?
So we're back to the cock theme.
Yeah.
So the Gold Cock, which is the Czech single malt whiskey.
Of course. Of course.
So Jago has a
Wouldn't have
bottle
it
of this
any
as
other way.
well. No.
I'm sure he does.
And this, as we have discussed before, needs water because it's 50%. If you actually want to taste anything, you got to
Hey,
put a
watch
little water in
yourself,
it.
360 grad. I'm going to tickle my mic, okay? Here. Can you hear that, Ben?
No.
Ah, so my mic isn't routing properly. And it says it is. And when I tap it, nothing? Hold on, you ready?
No.
Nothing?
No.
How about
No.
if I tap the laptop?
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
problem. All right, let me try to figure this out. Unbelievable.
Your motivational speaker's mic is not plugged in.
Shut your face. Shut your pie hole. Well,
You
it
look like
looks
Tim
like
Robbins.
yeah. Well, life has got to be everybody's got to be a Tim Robbins at some point. I don't even know what that means. Okay, So let's see. It says that I'm using that mic, but it's clearly not. So when I go to input, it says that I'm now using the microphone on my laptop. Did you hear audio change or not?
No.
Interesting. Maybe I've got to go into Ecamm. I feel like this is like the old days. Everybody just hang tight. What?
The first 10 minutes, this is how it always used to be.
It did, especially in the light stream days. All right, here we go. Let's see.
And people still used to turn up.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't understand. What is wrong with people? Audio.
Right. Well, you're pissing about with this. Is there any chance you can pour a drink so at least I can start on mine?
Yeah, sure. Hold on.
What's everyone else drinking, by the way? Let us know.
I'm going with the Glenlivet.
Okay.
The illicit still, just because that's the first bottle I could find. What? Tell me.
Tell a joke, Ben. I don't think I know any jokes that would end up with you getting demonetized. Oh, hey, I know cheers. Jokes, just none that we can.
Cheers. There we go.
Sláinte, na zdraví. Cheers.
All right. Can you stop with the rub your cam mic, okay? My mic is hooked up and I see levels. It's just for some reason it's not routing through Ecamm, which I did an update to today. I'm going to press a button and tell me if I mute at least. Am I muted? Yes. All right.
No, so you're not muted.
Am I muted now? Am I muted now?
No.
Okay, so that's the problem. It says that I'm going through the A10 Mini, but the audio clearly is not routing through there. Why? I don't know. Dang it. All right, just keep talking. What did you do this week? Did you travel back?
Yeah, I drove. So I finished in the UK on Friday, drove back with the kids more or less all day Saturday. So overnight on the boat, which was all good. And now I'm just into masses of editing, which is, it's kind of a good level for the next 2-3 weeks before I then go over to London for a job in Oxford and a gig, maybe, if I'm feeling brave enough. I have tickets for a concert, which seems like a really...
You mean a gig, not like a music gig.
Like a gig, yeah, wow. In Brixton, like at a proper venue. So it kind of still feels slightly... I don't know. I still can't decide whether it's a good idea or not. So in the UK, everything's kind of back to normal. There's no restrictions for anything. Whereas here, everything's gone mad again. In the time that I was away for a fortnight, for 2 weeks. And I think the cases here in the Czech Republic were something like 500 a day when I left, and they hit 10,000 today. So that's in the space of 2.5 weeks. So we're all expecting to be locked up again before too long.
Crazy world.
So, yeah. Jago, 100% going to get COVID. Yeah, but we've been saying this for like a year now. It's bizarre. It still seems to have missed it. But yeah. So all that's going on, and edit stuff is a really nice level. It's just, you're not panicking and having to work till 3 a.m, but you're able to put good full days in and lots of smaller things, which I like.
Right.
Not other than having to choose music for everything. I'm in that whole hell at the moment, spending hours and hours and hours on music libraries. Going, no.
And do you like doing that or not?
No, I hate doing that. Like, once you have it, I find, well, particularly for a couple of the projects that I'm doing now, once you've got that, it makes the whole edit very easy because it dictates the pacing and everything on it.
Right.
But I spend hours finding the right thing. It's a nightmare. Do you like doing that? I
do.
Really?
I like doing it. Yeah, I like finding music because when I edit, I find that there's just something about it that just allows me to then move forward with the edit. And I actually like finding the music. Are you talking about for like a music bed to go under everything?
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the audio, everybody. I don't know why. It says that I'm routed correctly. It says that I'm using the camera audio, but I'm clearly using the laptop audio, right? That's what's coming through. So it's
Yeah,
just not
it
letting
hasn't
me.
changed. But we can hear you. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not
It's pretty
wonderful,
bad,
but we
but
can
that's
hear.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
okay.
yeah, so for me, the two things I like to do when I do editorial stuff is number one, I like to take all of the stuff from the shoot that I have my attention on, both visually and from an auditory standpoint. So anything that has to do with picture or sound, and I try to solve all the problems, right? So if there was dead pixels or there was something wrong with the shot or this, I create a timeline which is like a problem solving timeline first, because
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that stuff later on. I want to figure out how to solve that problem and then have that solution. And then I'm kind of the same way about music. I like, if it's going to be a music bed that drives it, I like to find that and start cutting to that after I've solved the problems. So I don't know. I like doing that, but it's been a while. Yeah.
I like it when I think periodically change music libraries and tend to favour the blanket license model. So you pay an annual fee and then you get free reign of that particular archive for the 12 months. And what I tend
Right.
to find in the first 3 or 4 projects that you do whilst mining that resource, that you
Mm.
end up picking the good stuff. Because it's quite easy to do. You kind of go, show me the most popular stuff. Which is weird because on some of these things like Artlist, there's quite a lot of decent stuff on there. And you're finding lots of quite high-end TV ads that are using stuff off that. You know,
Yeah.
all the time now you're watching things going, I used that on something last week. But the point being that you end up exhausting the good stuff. And then you're really going digging and digging and digging. And then you go, oh, that's great. And then go, shit, I've already used that on something 3 months ago. And it's
Yeah.
kind of, I find it a harder and harder thing to do. Wannabe films, yes, exactly that. Music searches either take forever or you find the right cut immediately. And then
Yeah.
the worst thing is you then get to that point where you're just exhausted by the process. You've not found something that's amazing, and you've gone, all right, this'll do, this'll do. You download the thing, and then you cut to it, and then you go to bed, and you come back the next morning, and you go, this is terrible,
Yeah.
terrible. And it's one of the things. Jago and I work together on a lot of stuff, things that we kind of edit across the internet for a lot of things, and it's one thing that we never agree on with music, very rarely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I do have a pet peeve with is using the same music ever twice. So if I've used it for a client once, I will not use it for another client. I will.
Same.
That's definitely a thing for me. Always has been, and you know, it really sucks when you find that the perfect track for the job you're about to do is a track you use for another project, but I just won't do it. And yeah,
Yeah, and in the comments as well, also brought up the point that you picked Matt Lamfair. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he said you picked the perfect track and the client hates it. That's another thing. But I
yeah,
think you kind of get to know clients that are fussy about that stuff. I think I have quite a few that I know will just go with whatever you've chosen. But if it's one where you know they're going to come back, if it's a regular
yep,
client, you know they're always fussy. I just give them Artlist. So log into Artlist. Well, not the login, but just go into Artlist, choose something,
yeah,
or choose 3 things, and then we can discuss it from there. Then it's on there
you got,
because like you're saying, if you're using that to drive the pace of the whole thing, and then and they go, oh, can we just switch the music out? You go, no. Well, yes, but that's not
yeah,
a 2-minute job because
yeah,
everything's going to need repacing to it. So
totally.
yeah,
The audio should be a little better now. I think I routed it correctly. Should I do a test?
yeah, yeah. That's it.
Is it better? All right. I'm not saying it's exactly where it needs to be, but at least it's routed correctly. Is it muffled now? What is that? You got such a look on your face. What the hell's
Who,
going
me?
on?
Well,
Yeah,
it's just
you.
that. No, I'm just amused by the yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
just can't
Well,
stop seeing Tony Robbins. It's
I'm not actually set up here, so this is actually very advantageous when I'm teaching, or if I'm doing like educational videos, because I can move around the room, and I don't know the law of I don't know. It gets bumped a lot when you're picking up equipment and things, so this can be a good thing. Um, you're gonna have to get over it. That's all I have to say. Then again, I'm listening to myself come through your headphones because you have essentially open ear headphones. So we won't get started on that. Uh, well, there was actually a question here. Hold on, I wanted to scroll back to. Rhapsody says, "Hey everyone, did you start early?" No, but I think I may know what's going on.
you're in Europe.
Yeah, you're in Europe, so we haven't changed our clocks yet here in the States, and we don't do it now until the weekend after Halloween, and on the 31st. So next Saturday night, going into Sunday, will be when our I am a teacher. Thank you, 360 grad. I took that as a compliment, even though it probably wasn't. Um, is we're going to change over. So next week's episode will be back to normal, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, this is great because
You
it
get to go
means
to
that I
bed
get to go
earlier.
to bed an hour earlier. Yeah. Had I been in
Mm-hmm.
the UK still, then it would have
Yeah.
been a really early one.
Mm.
But this is the thing. Whenever the clocks change, normally in the autumn, in the fall, we are sort of tied in. But is this something new this year that it's shifted to a week later than
No, it
usual?
did it last year too.
Okay.
It's been a few years in the States. It's really, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I'd rather have an extra day, an extra hour of daylight at the end of the day than it getting lighter earlier in the morning. I don't care about
So
that.
no, I'm the same, and everyone that I speak to is the same. And the EU were all set this year to change it over so that we were going to not do the whole
Mm.
changing the time. But then there's been massive debate as to whether it should be done on winter time or on summertime.
Mm.
And a lot of the experts, they all say it's more advantageous to have it in the mornings, the extra hour. But everyone you speak to is like, no, surely not. Sure.
Nobody that I know wants it to exist anymore. And there is talk
No.
and it's state by state. There's actually, I think it's Arizona. They ignore it. So they don't give a
Yeah.
rat's ass about Eastern or Central or Mountain. We have a Mountain Time too, which is ridiculous. It's like
Oh,
the
I know.
sliver of the country that's an hour off, and then almost everybody else is 2 or 3 hours off. I mean, I don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's messed me up a few times because I have friends in Utah who I've been to see after NAB, and then you drive through this little sliver of Arizona, and your phone's just shifting all over the place. Yeah,
Yeah.
very bizarre. Oh, speaking of which, a conversation that we need to have this week, or at
Yes.
least this month,
Yes.
NAB
Yes.
2022.
Yeah.
I'm at the point where, because I can cash in a big pile of air miles, because Lufthansa have started doing it again now on worldwide destinations.
Mm.
So I have to book them so many months before, which is next month, beginning of December for NAB. Do we think it's going to happen? Am I gonna gamble it?
I think you'd be a lot safer just flying to Oregon and hanging out here for a couple of weeks, but I don't know what's going to go on with NAB. I mean, quite
No.
honestly, it's and I'm sorry I'm looking above camera. I don't have it set up yet where I'm on the teleprompter properly. I can kind of move everything over a little bit. I I'm still not in confidence level, to be honest with you, Ben. Um,
No.
no, I'm not, and I just I think that the way that the world is going, besides absolutely insane, is it's just going to be more and more sort of the UK's approach, which is we're now living with COVID.
Right.
It is something that exists, and I mean it's a virus, right? There's going to be variants of a virus. That's always going to be the way it is. Um, so I just don't know. I don't know, and a lot of it will also have to do with what the experience is like, because that's the other side of it. NAB more than likely will happen in April, is my guess, but I don't know what that experience is going to be like for us. And is it going to be what they wanted it to be in October, which was going to be a hybrid event, which then got nixed, and then it became a online only thing? And I'm talking about for the training that I do. I don't
Yeah.
know. So
No,
yeah,
no, and I know we spoke about it a while ago when we were planning to do the October thing, or not do
yeah,
the October thing.
yeah,
And that whole thing is that it's a big effort to get over there. It's a lot of money, and it's great in any normal year because it's just such an amazing social event. We all get together. It's the only time we ever see each other. It's good. But if we're having to do it all distanced, then that's all going to be very weird. I don't know how that's
yeah.
going to work at all.
I don't know
So
if
I
it's
know
going to
that
work. Yeah,
well, I don't know. I'm the Camry Marsh Festival, which we've spoken about a few times on here. Which for those
that's
who
happening,
don't,
right?
it's happening. Yeah, so that's in Torun in Poland, and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to run that, I think, as a hybrid event. And they're saying that everything's going to be socially distanced, but I can't imagine how that would possibly work.
Well, about 30 minutes into the event, everybody's going to have so much alcohol in their system, they're not going to give a shit. Let's be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
for the most part, because nobody ever drinks at that.
nobody. That's not what it's
Nobody.
for at all. That festival. Yeah.
No.
So I don't know how that's going to play out, but it'd be interesting to see because we'll see how things go for NAB. So I don't know. I'll see, but maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll book a flight because I can't get one direct to Vegas with the cashing all of the miles in. So it
Yeah.
has to be to LA and then get a jumper or to San Francisco or to
Mm.
Seattle. They're all available at the moment. So I'll just come out. We'll hang out if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be. I think we're still in for a little bit of a mess for a while, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. What's everybody else been up to? Speaking of, except for that 360 grad likes the women in the C200 videos. What else do we have to talk about? Put in at the C47 if you want to bring up a topic or have a conversation. Let's see. Question. APS-C 18 to 50 2.8 zoom worth replacing my primes in the same range for a lighter kit? I have the new little Sigma showing up tomorrow. Well, I'd keep the primes. I
For
haven't
sure.
used that new 18 to 50. Are the primes full frame or are they APS-C? That's the question, Chris, that I have for you. If you'd let me know. Um. Oh. Wannabe Films. I'm sorry, and I hope you're okay.
Oh shit.
Um. Yeah.
Yeah. All the
Yeah.
best, my friend.
Yes. Not something I've personally dealt with, but dealt with many people in my family. Many people. So I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope that you have a speedy recovery. So yeah, what just happened here? I don't know what's going on. It's all kinds of crap happening with my setup here. This is next week we'll have this dialed in, but it's pretty freaking messy this week. This is like old light stream days. Ooh, but the chat's getting lively. What do we got here?
What to do with my Pentax 6.7 lenses? You
Um,
could send
do
them
you
to
still
me.
have the cam? Yeah, or do you still have the camera body? I mean, if you've got the camera body, I go shoot some film. Come on, Memo. Yeah.
I'm
Mm,
be intrigued with those 6.7 lenses for putting them through speed boosters and using them with digi cameras. There's all sorts of stuff that
my
you can do with those.
my friend who I work with, he actually puts them on his Fujifilm, the 50, the medium
Yeah.
format camera. So he has an adapter and he's using them. He said, there's some vignetting issues depending on the focal length, but he enjoys shooting with them. Chris is using APS-C primes. I don't know. I'd wait till you get that zoom and I do some comparisons. My guess is you'll find that Sigma and that Sony prime are going to be a little bit sharper, and of course you're gaining On the 1.4, I don't know what focal length it is, you're gaining 2 stops, which is pretty considerable because your zoom's a 2.8, and you're gaining what, 1 2/3 of a stop essentially, close to it. I mean, you're gaining, yeah.
The only thing that I would
1 1/3.
mention when you're considering these, when you're going for native glass or you're going for the Sigmas, is they are great optically. I really like them. But if you're shooting video with them, the thing that you should know is that they make noise a lot when they're autofocusing, which you might have heard a little earlier on.
Wait, but not the new one, the 18 to 50. You think?
I don't know.
Depends on that lens.
I haven't seen a review of it yet, but almost every one that I've ever used has done it. It's this constant sound. It doesn't. It sounds like it must be hunting, that you must be able to see that the noise is so sort of prevalent, but it doesn't. So as long as you've not got a mic on the camera, it'll be fine. But it's just something to bear in mind.
Is it the Alien in Super 8 that sounds like that? I think it might be Super 8.
I haven't seen
noise that you just made. You haven't seen? Oh, come on. It's the original lens flare movie from J.J. Abrams. So much noise. I have the 18 to 35 and 24 to 70 so loud. We feel your pain, Matt. We feel your pain.
Jay, if you want to hear what it sounds like, Jago's saying that you can still hear it. So I am on a Sigma lens right now.
Oh, I can hear it. There it is. It is. It's that Alien. Is it the Alien in Super 8? I don't know. Or what's the one with what?
I was going to say my mic isn't actually on the camera either, so it is there. It's something you need to bear in mind.
Yeah. All right, let's get some other questions going here in the chat. We don't care what the topic is as long as it's not. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, while questions are coming in, we haven't discussed the weird DJI camera yet. The Ronin.
Oh, we did a couple of weeks ago. When I did the solo, and but we hadn't seen a lot of videos at that point. I think it had been that day or the day before. I think it looks like an amazing piece of kit, and I think it's priced for what it is in the place it should be. I think for me the big problem is how long can you fucking use the damn thing? It's that's the reality of it. And really what I wanted DJI to do, which I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, is I wanted them to create some sort of vest-based rig that would allow you to have range of motion. That it's just, you can use an easy rig, you can use a whole bunch of other things out there, but the reality is you're losing a lot of the range of motion of what that piece of kit is. So somebody's got to figure that out at a certain point. How do you get the range of motion, I don't know. Any feelings?
I think it's a very interesting piece of kit, and it's slightly like in the same way that we were talking about the new iPhone, in that it's an amazing step, but it's not the point that I want to jump into it. So I don't know if you saw Philip Bloom's video on it, which I thought was great, really good review of it. So you're quite limited in lens choice, because you can't put anything more than 1 kilo onto it. And the weight of it, I mean, I am really struggling, even just hand holding an SLR for a long period of time. My mid back.
Well, it happened. This area just starts to freeze up.
Exactly.
And that's a problem.
Yeah. And so I bought the R6 a few months ago, which I'm loving now with the new firmware on it. It's great, and the C-Log 3, the image of it's really, really, really nice. The stabilization's great, so you can handhold a lot. And I've been shooting that way quite a bit of late, and it's killing me. And that's something that weighs very little compared to that DJI camera. So it's going to have to be used with an easy rig. But I mean, if you were doing a lot of motion stuff, if you were mounting that thing to a car, because you could just strap a tripod into the boot of a car, into the trunk of the car, or you could mount that into the side of a helicopter, and because of that fourth axis with the arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a useful thing for certain applications for sure. It's really interesting, but if they can increase the payload on it, which is obviously going to increase the weight of the thing, so usability. But I don't know, it's very interesting, and the LiDAR thing, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it needs another. So the ecosystem needs to grow around that camera, and I think I agree with Matt. From day one, when I saw the Zenmuse X7, which was part of their, drone ecosystem, all of a sudden we had a ProRes RAW interchangeable lens system camera that was attached to a drone. So now you have the same thing essentially attached to a version of a Ronin. And the problem that I have with the camera is why can't, and maybe you can, but it doesn't seem like the ecosystem is there. Why can't you just take the camera away from the gimbal and use it for all of the things that you'd want to do, when you don't want to use a gimbal?
Yeah.
I'd like to have that modularity of that system, because I think everything else about it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if they had done that, or they can do that in the future, then I think there would be a lot of people who would be interested in just buying the camera as a starting package. And I don't know if are they new lenses that they've released with them, or are they the older lenses? Because the old lenses, this is a full frame camera, isn't it?
It
So
is.
and then the old Zenmuse was Super 35. So are these all new primes that they've come out with, or what's the deal? Because obviously a lot of people are going to adapt them to E mount and other mounts. So
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure. So there's an E-mount option for it. The Philip Bloom's sort of conclusion was that their own were pretty good because they were very lightweight. You had this restriction on payload. So I think it was 2 kilos, but that included the camera and the gimbal. So by the time
Right.
you've ended up adding the lens on, you've only got a kilo, which isn't very much. That was £2 roughly. And what would be very interesting would be, because that whole thing with the LiDAR thing and the lenses that then opens up for using in autofocus, which is really, really interesting, because in the examples that I've seen with that, and it actually face tracking, that's really, really interesting. But all the lenses that I'd want to use with it are really heavy, or certainly heavier than a kilo.
Yeah.
So you're going to be pushing that over. So it's as I was saying earlier, it's like the iPhone. It's a really good glimpse as to where things I think are going to go. And it's not something that I want to buy right now, but it's really exciting. What's down the road?
Yeah.
And again, this thing that 360 said, it would be really interesting as a product, as a standalone, the LiDAR that you could put onto other third-party cameras, which I know does exist, but it's...
Yeah. I think we're kind of in a, let's say, transitional period, but we're definitely in a period right now where the conversation isn't really about resolution anymore. It is, but it isn't. And it's not really about dynamic range, it is and it isn't. Because we've hit this sort of, baseline with both of those things, where it's going to be pretty rare for you to go into a camera system now that's not at least a 4K camera system. And you're probably going to eke out, 13 to 15 stops of dynamic range, out of most of the cameras that are coming to market right now. Can you push and pull that image the way you can with certain cameras like Arri? Probably not. There isn't necessarily the same latitude that you have in every single camera system, but properly exposed in terms of dynamic range, it's, if you're shooting in log, you're going to get quite a bit of data coming out of the cameras. So what's exciting about what's happened in the last few months, when we're talking about iPhone 13, we're talking about this new camera from DJI, is we're talking about technologies that are getting introduced that are relatively new technologies. And then when you take the smartphone and you talk about the data you can capture when it comes to depth and environment and everything else, I think that's just the beginning. So I think cinematic mode on the iPhone, I mean, we look at it 3 years from now, and if you were dedicating your smartphone to, and it'll be Android as well, of course, but if you're dedicating your smartphone and saying, hey, I just need to do a live stream for an hour, I'm going to shut off, all of my airplane mode is going to be on. I'm going to shut off all my Wi-Fi and everything else, and I'm basically just going to use that device as a camera. It's going to be pretty impressive. And I think the same thing is going to be true for the DJI technology. When we look back 3 years from now at what has been introduced, 32-bit float audio, the lidar, focusing system, some of the things that we're integrating, it's going to all break out into modular components, and we're also going to have a lot of cameras that'll have all of those components into them. So I don't know. It's going to be pretty exciting, I think, 3 years from now. And then the whole thing that seems from a production standpoint so unaffordable right now when you look at things that are being done with LED volumes and stuff like that. There's already technology built into using apps with an iPhone where you can get tracking data and map things, and it's in its infancy. So I think we're going to have some pretty cool stuff where you can be in a 20 by 20 room and you're going to be able to create things that are just amazing. I mean, I think Matt Workman is definitely going down that path right now. I think he's looking at it from the standpoint that not everybody's going to have an LED volume. Not everybody's going to have access to a studio that costs $10,000 to $20,000 a day. How do you do this on a smaller scale? And I think it's going to be possible, to be honest. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm interested in learning it, but I think it's going to be possible. How about you, Ben?
No. It's something, I don't know. I find all that a little sad. To some degree, that there's certain things. I bought a new TV this week, and so I was going through loads of trailers of stuff because it's the first time I've had an HDR TV, and I was just watching a lot of that content and being wowed by quite a lot of it. But there's so much of it that's still crap. CG stuff. What's that? There's a new film that's on Apple TV about a submarine. I can't remember what it's called or even who's in it. But you start off, and I was watching the trailer for that.
Probably
and then it goes
Tom
to all
Hanks.
The exterior scene.
No,
it is Tom Hanks. Yeah,
no, it is. Is it actually?
And it looks yeah, it is. It really is. He plays the submarine command. But yeah, it still looks like shit. And as much as I'm not particularly impressed in the story of things like the Mission Impossible films, there's something that I admire about them still doing everything in camera.
Right.
And you can still tell. It still takes me out of stuff when I can tell it's CG.
Right.
So this sort of advances in that. It's all very exciting from a technology point of view. From a viewer's point of view, I don't like it. Yeah. I like people to blow stuff up and jump out of planes and do all good stuff. And incidentally, I saw the new Bond film this week as well, which is, I know, very late.
I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen that yet?
No, I'm dying to.
Right, we can't talk. Yes. All right, we can't talk about that then.
No.
Yeah,
we can't.
It's
You're right.
Very good. Of those modern era ones, probably the best. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. David, I do think that the iPhones do use LiDAR technology as well for mapping. So I think we're seeing a convergence of technologies happening. There was a comment I saw earlier. Yeah. What do we got? Could be. I think the camera.
You've gone blank.
What do you mean blank? What do you mean? You mean mentally blank? Probably. Hello?
No, you froze again. But I think it's just on my end. No one else seems to have noticed.
So you might have crap download today or something. I mean, it's not good on my end, so I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Wannabe Film says the most intriguing development for me was divorcing the sensor from the camera body. That opens up a world of possibilities. It's kind of doing that. I mean, I would argue, at least with the DJI camera, that the camera body's still there in the front. It's still part of the sensor block. It's just pretty small. It's just, we don't know how much of the rest of that body is in charge of things. I don't know. Because I would, what do you think, Ben?
No, the more interesting development, yeah, the more interesting development would be taking the technology from that and putting that into gimbals, so having that fourth axis into a product that you can then put other cameras on. That to me is more interesting, I think,
Yeah,
than
which they clearly could
this
do.
separation, because it's not a real separation. It's yeah, exactly. It's more of a limitation in some ways, the way that they've done that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, you could take an A7 4, right? R4 is the latest one. Is it an R4? I think the latest one is the R4. Too many Sony cameras. It's
Oh
definitely
yeah,
the 4.
the R4.
Is
Yeah.
it the A7? It's not the A7 IV. It's the A7R4, I believe. Whatever. It's another
Right.
A7 camera. Whatever it is, if we could take that camera and an FX3 or whatever it is, and you could put that onto essentially what this new gimbal is with the fourth axis, I can't see them not coming out with that product. And then could they
No.
take their LiDAR technology and integrate it for any camera, or is it inherently built into the operating system? Thank you, Rhapsodus, A74.
There you go.
That's right.
It's got to be. It's got to be possible to do that.
Yeah.
You might need to have a little. Need to have a little box because it'll need a processor on it because it's an intelligent system.
Yeah.
It's having to. It's not just a case of measuring distance and then dialing that into the motor that's controlling the focus on the lens. There's intelligence in there, so you'll have to have a box. But for sure, that's got to be possible.
Yeah, but you take a look at, which I think is an underwhelming reaction, but actually some pretty amazing technology. And we take a look at the Nikon Z9, Z9. I'm just covering my bases here, kids, okay? And you take a look at that camera, and there's some amazing technology in there. And the focus, shut up, the technology inside of that camera from an autofocus standpoint is amazing. I mean, it really is. If you watch some of the stuff that's there, you've got that cheeky face again. But I think that Nikon camera and that technology is pretty amazing. Why doesn't? Well, I think DJI will come out with that gimbal, and if they do, the AF systems in Sony cameras right now, in even the Nikon, and I would say Canon cameras, is so strong that maybe that's not a not a real issue. Maybe the A7 IV on the new Ronin 3, which has the fourth axis, is the gimbal that everybody wants, but they don't necessarily want to be in the Zenmuse X9. I don't know. X9, I think. Yeah.
No, and I think when you're talking about Canon, you're talking about Sony, and that those companies are really wanting you to stick within their world in terms of lenses, because they're obviously working very well with their AF systems, both companies, Sony and Canon. What's interesting, which someone had alluded to earlier, is that companies like Blackmagic, if you're then putting a system like that LiDAR system into a Blackmagic camera, so you can then stick anything on the front of it and that's going to work, that becomes very interesting.
Yeah.
And
I mean, clearly, yeah.
And
yeah.
Danny, no, I'm certainly not under any NDAs with any company. No one sends me anything, talks to me or anything. I don't know about Jem.
No, nobody sends me anything. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an additional module. the LiDAR system. It's just how well does it communicate with other cameras? Because obviously on an iPhone it's built in. I guess the way that DJI has built it, it's communicating with their camera, right? I mean, it's an ecosystem for everything. Um, yeah, I'm not. I have been under NDAs, by the way, Danny, but I'm not under any NDA. I can say whatever I want right now. Which means that when somebody says they can say whatever they want, they're not under an NDA. They can just say, they just make crap up. So I don't know. I think that if DJI doesn't come out with that gimbal, it'll be a big mistake because Sony and Canon and probably Blackmagic are not going to come out with gimbals. But I think it is important to say that that's a lot of vodka. That Blackmagic, really, they're the company along with Panasonic that really needs to up their AF game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Both those two companies are. I mean,
Yeah.
Fuji can get there pretty quickly, I think, but the other two are just crap. AF, not everything else.
Yeah, and Blackmagic who don't have lenses at all. So they're very. It's a really interesting thing as to what they would do with it. And again, that's used. The market that those cameras are used in, people are often using manual glass.
Yep.
I think for them, more than anyone, it would make a lot of sense if they could get some version of that camera into their ecosystem.
Yeah, I think 360 Grad has a good question. Interesting question people had about the DJI 4D was at which customer or what customers are they aiming at? And I think that that's a great thing to bring up because in my opinion, I think they're aiming at, whether or not that aim is aiming too high, I think they're clearly going after the television and feature film world. They're not expecting this camera system, in my opinion, to replace an Alexa, LF. But at the same time, what they are saying is, here's a full frame camera system, 6K. There'll be an 8K version available. And if you put this into your ecosystem for the film or television show that you're working on, with the support crew that you need to really use a camera system like that, day in and day out, this could be a tool that is a very inexpensive, quote unquote, crash cam. Because if you attach that to a vehicle for $7,000 or $8,000, that's petty cash for a feature film or a television show. That's not even barely a line item at that cost. I don't know.
Right.
I do feel that they're going from a YouTube standpoint. They're going after the I want it, and then Peter McKinnon's going to talk about it, and somebody else is Potato Jet's going to talk about it, and it's going to be I want that camera, and I'll spend $7,500. Is that camera going to be as usable as a C70 or even a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera day in and day out? Probably not. But there's going to be a drool factor that's going to exist there. But then when it gets down to actual usability, that's when it's going to fall apart.
I think so. There'll be some good cheap secondhand models on available not too far in the future. I think people like drone guys. I think it's of interest to. Because I think if you're wanting to do stuff, I had a job. We spoke about it about a month ago that I ended up having to fly in a small aircraft because we needed to go higher than a drone could go. And I used to do that kind of stuff all the time, and it just doesn't happen very often. But there's also things that aircraft can do, manned aircraft can do that drones can't, in terms of places that you can fly that are restricted to drones that you can fly in a helicopter or a small plane. Now, those things, as we were talking about earlier, now that camera is amazing for that. So I would say people who are specializing in that kind of work I think it's a
Yeah.
really, really useful tool. So if someone's got an Inspire 2, for example, the colours are going to match on that. People who are then working into sort of being brought in to shoot for sort of low budget films, I think it's a really useful piece of kit for that.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
mean,
it's a
look,
low cost way of getting a very good stabilized system onto
yeah.
aircraft, vehicles, etc.,
And
etc.
clearly gradable, clearly matchable with other
Mm.
cameras, I think that did they announce their third round of products this week? Because to me, it would make sense that what we're going to see next is we're going to see a drone that is going to be Zenmuse 9 based. So you can pop this thing off of the 4 and you can go onto the drone and back and forth. Because to me, that would make total sense.
It would. Gem, I think they don't have a great track record in terms of that modularity. It's like when they bring out new drones, new everything,
Yeah.
they want to buy. They'll have made something just very slightly different so that you then have to go and buy new stuff. DJI are horrible like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The two things are that it's what you're suggesting, which could be what's coming, which will be an Inspire 3, I guess, drone, or it could be that there's this
Mavic
Mavic
3. Yeah.
yeah, with the two cameras, which has been doing the room around for the last month or so, which is interesting. But then, from a European's point of view, we're not sure whether we're fairly certain that's still not going to conform to the new European standards, which means that you're quite limited as to where you can fly that. So on my license that I have, I can fly up to 5 meters with the C Mark drone, but there aren't any. 5 meters away from uninvolved people, which is close. But there isn't a single drone on the market that is marked, unless
Yep.
something's changed in the last week or two. But it's an interesting product. So it's got a dual camera system on it. So it's actually got two separate lenses, but two separate sensors as well, as I understand it. So with a tele and a wide.
I guess we'll see. I mean, 360 grad. A year ago. I mean, the Hasselblad thing. I don't know if you can't use good lenses on it. We can adapt E mount. You can adapt M mount. So there's some great lenses there that are small. I think the key to the castle right now with the DJI product is really the LiDAR technology. It's taking smaller prime lenses, smaller zooms that are good quality, though there aren't a lot of small good quality zooms, and putting that AF system into them. Because if you're talking about a one man, kind of crew situation, you're not going to have a focus puller. You've got to rely upon a good AF system when you're using a gimbal like that. You're not reaching over and changing focus. It's just not happening. So I think we're in the early stages of all of this. It's the beginning of what's going to happen. I don't think DJI is a dumb company in any way, and they're not going to take all of this R&D and technology they put into this and not allow it to support other cameras in the market. Because I don't think that the long-term goal of DJI is, yes, they're now getting into the camera game for real, but I don't think that the goal is to say we're your alternative to Arri, Sony, Panasonic, Canon. That's not, I don't think, their game. I think that they
No.
have this product and it's going to sit somewhere in the market, and then they're also going to continue to build on, a market that can be theirs. I mean, I think FreeFly is an amazing company, but they're a very small company. They're very innovative, but they just don't have what DJI has. They don't have the depth that that company has now to be able to develop new products. I mean, DJI is in just a whole different category. So I don't know.
Yeah. The speed of
Yeah.
which they are bringing stuff out is crazy
Yeah.
and quite
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah, and they do have some heavy lenses on their stuff, 360 grad, but I think the usability of those, and there is a payload, limit. I just think it's going to be, until we get an ecosystem or we get a version 2 or there's somebody comes up with an engineering, 3.0 on these things where we can have full range of motion, with that 4-axis system. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just because on the Ronin, on the was it the RS2, you can put quite a lot of weight on that, and you can pull it a long way back, so you can balance it. You can put a heavy lens on the front of the camera, and you can still
Yeah.
balance that up. So that's just a space and a physics thing. So I'm sure a version 2 of this will come out that has that ability. I think it's just to do with space at the moment.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, I think it's a really interesting thing that I have no interest in buying, but future versions of, who knows?
Yeah. But if they had come out with that system and the camera was completely modular and I could stick it on whatever I wanted and just slap a Arca Swiss, plate on the bottom of it and just use it, then I would be probably about 10, 20 times more excited about the product than I am right now. And I'm excited
Sure.
about it. I think it is an important product. They're doing something that's interesting, but I would really, really like to see that modularity. And here
Yeah.
we are, like 40 minutes later, talking about the DJI camera. See what you did there, Ben? Jeez.
Well, that was amazing. I filled the show. Great.
There you go. Amazing. Any last questions from people? This will be better next week. It'll be dialed in a lot better. We'll have Caleb back.
You got there in the end. It's working all right now.
It's okay. It's not quite where it needs to be. There's some finessing here, but this is part of the beginnings of, kind of the setup for some new content that I want to do. So it'll be kind of in this space here, and there'll be, the ability with multiple cameras to show some more stuff, and I can have conversations about things. I don't know if I want to do recorded content, and I know that the algorithms of YouTube aren't very friendly to that, but honestly, for me, I would rather think about what I want to talk about for a half an hour or whatever it's going to be and do it as a live stream and switch cameras than not have the time and then regret that I shot a bunch of stuff and didn't put it together in the timeline. And I know that's that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. We'll get there. Yes. Memo.
Do you
keep those lenses?
Do you find
what?
Do you find with that mic? Do you pace up and down with it? Do you get
what does that mean, pace?
Like walk up and down, like walk around. Have you ever filmed a conference, something when someone's mic'd up? They always have this kind of pattern that they do. I just wondered if it kind of got you in there.
No, I don't think having a headset mic makes you want to pace. I am a pacer. If I get on a phone call with somebody, I can't just sit still. So I go outside, I walk around. I'm that type of person. But it's not because of this thing.
Okay. I always find a weird thing that I've done a few conferences that are all done as kind of live TV kind of events, and you have a director and you're being directed, and you see people and they do move, and almost everyone has this set pattern that they do. So 10 minutes into their stint, you know exactly where they're going. It might be a figure of eight.
It's whatever they are. It's whatever their thing.
But they're repetitive. So they've got this thing that like they're moving around and being all spontaneous, but they just follow the same pattern. It's really interesting. It's very boring doing that sort of stuff. So you have a lot of time to.
Well, that's my goal. I just want to be boring. So I'll keep wearing this, and then I'll just keep doing it.
Jim.
Come on, Memo. I don't know what I said. I just said keep the lenses. I mean, how much can you get for the lenses? Just keep them. Do you have a camera body for them? Go buy film, shoot it, have fun. I'm not saying that
beautiful lenses. Those things, keep them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that everybody needs to do this. I'm definitely on a little kick right now where I'm shooting film and I'm having fun doing it. And even though the prices of film cameras have gone up on eBay, they're still dirt cheap. Let's be honest.
Right.
I mean, it's if it was $125, a year and a half ago, and you're paying $200 or $225 now, it's still pretty dang cheap. I mean, you can buy 4 great vintage camera bodies for $1,000 or less, and you
Right.
could have fun, checking them out.
And I've been in your position, and I sold my RB67 and 3 lenses with it, and for nothing, and have regretted it always. If
Yeah,
that
yeah,
helps.
yeah. Come on, small brown fox. There is no M50 on my shelf, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't own an M50, so there's no way it's on my shelf. There's a lot of other cameras behind me. There's a
And a lot of
lot of
empty
other.
bottles.
Yeah, well, not as many as Caleb, but there's
No, true.
definitely there's a fair number of cameras back there, but there is no M50. Thank you very much. But yeah, go get the 45 memo. Do it. Oh, you have the body, but you want to go
So
get
you're all
it. Okay.
set. There you go.
Yeah,
Keep it
just
all.
have some
Use
fun.
it.
Come
Enjoy
on,
it.
enjoy. Shoot some sunsets and people, and I don't know. Have fun. The headset is a Rode headset. I forgot what it's called. HS2. I do remember. Do you know why the Gh6 announcement was postponed? I didn't know it was. Somebody said it was coming. Was it unspectacular? Back to the drawing board? I have no idea. Anybody have any insight into that? I got none.
No clue.
I got nothing for you, kid. All right. Any last comments? Anything else you want to say to the world, Ben, before I get back to setting up this new area here?
No, I'm going to bed, but that was good. That
Yeah,
went
it's
very
good to
quickly
see you.
tonight again.
It did
Yeah,
very
likewise.
quickly. Glad everybody came by and we had a chat. Yeah, go get yourself a cheap camera and have fun with it. You know what I have coming next is I have a Olympus Xa. Do you know about that camera?
I do know about that. I've been after one of those. It's the little thing with the
It's
pool.
the clamshell. It really was his
Yeah,
last. What's his name from Olympus? His last camera he designed,
yeah.
and it's really he's done a lot of things that have changed a lot of cameras, or made companies change their cameras in terms of design. But that little XA I picked up, for the most part, I'm just buying cameras from people in Japan because
So
they know how to rate cameras. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was going to. Which version did you go for with that? Because I've been seriously
Original,
looking at
the
those.
only one he designed. So I was only interested in the original XA because that's a shutter priority camera, and
Yes.
you can
Yeah,
change. It's a
yeah.
2.8 lens, and that's all I was really interested in. A
Same.
shutter priority
And it's
rangefinder.
tiny. Exact.
It's
That's
tiny. That's it. Yeah, it's just yeah.
yeah.
So that's the one. So there's an XA1, an XA2, 3. They're all different, but they
But all
have
the
like
later ones
three
are
five
fully
lenses.
auto. Yeah.
Well, they're like 3.5, and I think some of them might be shutter priority, which I like. I have a camera somewhere, the Canon it's not, well, it's some. I'll show it to you at some point. It's a shutter priority camera, but you can go full manual, and that's great. But I thought the XA, why not have some
Yeah.
fun with it?
No,
So
I've been. I nearly bought one and then I've forgotten all about it. So you've prompted me. I will get on it and also get one.
yeah, the one I got about $200
Yeah.
US, and from Japan, where they actually know how to rate cameras, they know how to describe cameras. I mean, when they start to break down every part of a camera and they say it's near mint or excellent plus 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 plus, and it's not just a rating for the camera overall, but they break down the viewfinder, they break down the lens, they break down the camera body. Then you're buying from somebody who knows how to sell a
Yeah.
camera.
Did you get
Yeah.
it with the flash? Did it has the
Nope.
original
I didn't
flash
give a
thing? No.
rat's ass about the flash.
No,
A
I don't
lot of
care
them
about
were
it either.
about
They
the
often come
same
up.
price with the flash. I'm just going to put, if I need to, I'll put 800 speed film in it, and maybe I'll rate it as a 1600. I'll push it a stop. The OM 4Ti that I have here, I can put 3200, film in there, and it'll meter for that. That's the
Yeah.
problem with some of the older cameras. You can only put, 800 or slower film in there, and for metering purposes. Obviously, you can put other film in there. You're just going to have to tell the lab
to do something different.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's life. What are you going to do? That's part of the fun.
Cool.
Have fun with it. You can have a cheap stills camera that's not a disposable, which, by the way, one of my daughters is 17. Everybody buys disposable film cameras now. So they're all spending an exorbitant amount of money. You know, it's like 2 disposable film cameras with 36 exposures cost you about $35. And that's not with processing. That's not with scanning. So they're going to spend $50 to $60 for 2 rolls of film. I said to her, why can't I just buy you a cheap 35 millimeter camera so you stop buying the actual disposables? A roll of film is $7 or $8 at least, you know. So that's my next thing that I have to do. Yes, it can get sticky, small brown fox, but the one that I bought should be fine. You know, you got to just spend time. What do you mean meter? Yeah, I got a meter. Use a handheld. Sunny 16. We're going to leave with that. If you don't know what it means, go look it up. With the Sunny 16, everybody, we'll see you next week with Caleb. All the best. Take care.
Niall.
See you, Ben. Bye.
Bye-bye.